Okay, hello my darlings. My name is Mina. Welcome to my channel, Mina Reads, and today we're going to talk about all the books that I read in February. As always, this video is not even fashionably late, it's just late as fuck, but who cares? Books never expire. So I'm going to be talking about the 11 books that I read in February. I would say, to sum up, I think February was like a slightly better month than January was in terms of quality. I do think that I read more books that I enjoyed than I did in January, so that's something. And before we get deeper into the video, I do just want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a book subscription service for readers, and how it works is that each month their team vets hundreds of books and provides you with a carefully curated selection of new and early release fiction titles so you can spend more time reading and less time researching. I absolutely love Book of the Month. I think it's a great way to find new titles to check out, as well as having some of the best prices for newly released hardcover fiction. I also love the fact that you can skip any month at any time if the selections don't stick out to you, but they have recently included an expansion of their selection options. So usually there are 5 books that you can choose from, but they are expanding to 7 books that you can choose from. Some months there'll be 7 books, some months there'll be 6 books, some months there'll be 5, but there will be a more expansive selection to choose from going forward, and I think that's really exciting. So let's get into the books for this month. First, we have Dating Dr. Dill by Nisa Sharma. This is the one I'm most excited for. It's kind of got a Taming of the Shrew sort of vibe, and it is about this girl. It's about this girl, her family wants her to get married, and she basically has this kind of interesting dynamic with this TV doctor on a show called Dr. Dill, and they started a relationship. It's a rom-com between them. I'm very excited about this. This is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. Then we have The Verifiers by Jane Peck. This one sounds really exciting. It's about a Chinese protagonist. It's about a sapphic Chinese protagonist, and she works for a company called Veracity, and they're like an online dating detective agency. And so I think that maybe they like work to see if people are getting catfished or not. I don't know, but it sounds like really interesting. And basically this is a story about her doing some digging for her new job, and she discovers a world of like lies and deceit and all that good stuff. It sounds really interesting, and also I really love this cover. Then we have The Paris Apartment by Lisa Foley, the author of the much beloved The Guest List, and this is another like close proximity, we're stuck in one room kind of murder mystery novel, and I'm really excited to check this one out. Then we have The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. This one says, from the critically acclaimed author of The Book of M, a highly imaginative thriller about a young woman who discovers that a strange map in her deceased father's belongings holds an incredible, deadly secret, one that will lead her to an extraordinary adventure and on the truth about her family's dark history. The Unsinkable Greta James by Jennifer E. Smith, and this book is about a indie musician who's recently gone through a terrible tragedy, and they're really going through it, and so she ends up reconnecting with her father on a week-long cruise, and this sounds like one of those like really emotional parental relation kind of stories. Okay, so then we have The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, and this is about a true crime blogger who interviews this woman who was acquitted of 2 cold case slayings, but there may be more to this investigation than the blogger truly bargained for, and I don't know, this one really sounds interesting, and I've been seeing a lot of good reviews for it on Goodreads. And then we have Tell Me Everything by Erica Krause. This is part memoir, part literary true crime about a female investigator who was involved in a landmark sexual assault case. So if any of these books sound interesting to you, you can check out Book of the Month in the link in my description below and use the code MINAREADS to get your first box for $9.99. Thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and let's get into the books. So the first book that I finished in February was Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Farseer trilogy, which is about this boy named Fitzchivalry Farseer, who is the bastard son of this deceased prince called Chivalry, and essentially because Fitz is a royal bastard, he is kind of invited to live in Buckkeep Castle with the rest of the royal family, but because he is a bastard, his grandfather, the king, decides to make him the royal assassin, and so he is in the first book being trained to be an assassin, and in this second book we get to see him doing more assassin-y things. This book, I will say that I enjoyed this way more than I enjoyed the first book in the series. I think the first book was like a 3-star. This one was like a 4-star. I really liked it because I love Fitz as a character. I think this is interesting, and I feel like if you like coming of age fantasy where you get to experience the character as they like grow and evolve as a person, then I think you will enjoy this series. And I really liked Fitz. I think that he's someone that you just really empathize with. He's just so sweet and amazing, and I feel like he's constantly getting knocked down by life, and so it's like it could be hard to read about him struggling and going through things. And so I feel like in the first book, because Fitz was so young, I feel like when the book starts he's like 6 maybe, And in his second book, we get to see him until he's kind of like a young man. I want to say he's like maybe 18 or 19 by the end of the book. And so you get to see him being more of like an actionable protagonist, and he's not just reacting to things that are happening to him. He has, you know, more agency in the plot. And so I think that I really enjoyed that aspect of Royal Assassin. I don't know if it was like a 5-star for me, but like it was very, very good. And I am excited to get into Assassin's Quest, which is right behind me over there. But it's just so long. It's like 800 pages, and I am a scaredy cat, and I am intimidated by long books, so I don't know. I'm just scared to dive into it, but when I do, I think it'll be a good one, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I thought like, okay, so I read this, you know, high fantasy, blah, blah, blah. I should read some palate cleansers. I'm gonna read some spicy romance, and that was absolutely the wrong decision. I read Dipped in Holly by Dana Isley. Basically, Dipped in Holly is about this girl. It's like a Christmas novella. It's about this girl. She's at like the bar during Christmas time with her boyfriend and his friends, and her boyfriend breaks up with her and basically reveals that he's been cheating on her for a really long time. Obviously they break up, but she's like in the bar bathroom crying and really upset, and the owner of the bar is this older sexy silver fox guy, and he like basically knocks on the door and he's like, hey, like, are you okay, blah blah blah. And so basically he like gives her some drinks, and they talk and like commiserate, and they decided they have chemistry, so they do the freak nasty. Like, good for them. But this book was not fun or sexy or anything of the sort to me. I don't feel like the characters had chemistry. This is a novella, so it's not like, you know, some epic story where I need to feel like they're in love and like what. No, I was reading it for smutty good times, and I just feel like it wasn't sexy because the characters really did not have a lot of chemistry to me. And when I read an age gap story, I want to feel, I don't want to feel icky about it. And this book made me feel very icky about their age gap because the girl's like 25, so she's grown, and like there's nothing wrong with like her age or his age. I think he's maybe like 50 or a little bit older than that. But like when we get to see his POV and like what he's thinking about, he asks himself like, oh, like, did I approach her out of a fatherly instinct? Do I want to take care of her the way I take care of my kids? It's like, what are we talking about? Like, this shit is weird. This is not cute. This is not sexy. This is not fun. This is very, very odd, and I don't want to hear about it. So it was weird the way that he was talking and thinking about her and their age gap. It was making me uncomfortable. And then I just feel like the sex they were having was boring, and it just wasn't, it just didn't give to me 1 star. I hated it. I read Good Deeds by Catherine Moon because I was like, okay, well, I tried this new author and she didn't work out, so maybe I'll go back to an author who's tried and true. I absolutely loved so many books by Catherine Moon in 2021, so I just knew that this was going to be a hit, and I was absolutely incorrect. I read Good Deeds by Catherine Moon, and this is a reverse harem story, like all of her stories seem to be, but it's essentially about this girl. She's like an alien. It's like a sci-fi reverse harem erotica thing. So basically it's about this girl that's an alien, and these aliens like go into heat or something. So she's going into heat. She needs help through her heat, so she goes to like the pleasure district of this planet, and she goes to like this brothel that's run by these like android robot things. And then basically, even though they're androids and they're like not supposed to have feelings, they all immediately fall in love with her. And it's a story about her and all of her android boyfriends, which is like cool theoretically, but it just wasn't doing the stuff and the things for me. So anyway, I gave that one 2 stars because I didn't hate it. I think that there were some interesting scenes in it. Some of it was fun. I did like a few of the characters, but it just wasn't a new favorite for me. So since we're talking about romances, I guess I'll get the other 2 romances that I read out the way. I read The Layover by Katrina Jackson, and I gave this one 3 stars. This book is basically about this girl. She's a YouTuber slash travel blogger, and she meets this guy at like a YouTuber convention, and he has a podcast and he like interviews people, and they decide they're going to collab while she's in town. And so this book takes place during a layover that she's having in the Bay Area, and they like basically do this tour around like her childhood neighborhood, and they talk and they do this interview for his podcast and blah blah blah, and over the course of the day they like fall in love with each other kind of. And I thought that this was really beautifully written. I don't know, the story felt like it was really kind of sad and melancholy because the main girl, I can't remember what her name is, but the main girl, she really is kind of going through a period of transition in her life where she feels slightly unfulfilled by her current like career path, and like she just feels like there's something missing, and you know, she's not like super happy. And so I feel like the way that the story was navigating you know, these difficulties that she was experiencing in her personal life, and the way that it was written was very beautiful and like lyrical and pretty, and I liked it. But as a romance, I don't think that it worked for me at all, because the guy, like, he was really in love with and enamored by her based off that one interaction that they had, and then they have this like one period of togetherness during the layover, and then they don't see each other for months, and then woohoo, we're in love, grand gesture, we're gonna be together. I just didn't buy it. I wasn't feeling it. It didn't work for me. But like beyond the romance, which I don't think was very good, I don't think that it was well developed, I don't think that it was doing the things that I want a romance to do, to grab me and to make me invested in it. It didn't do any of those things. But I will say that, like I said, the writing was good, and I liked the main girl character, whatever her name was. She was interesting. I liked her emotional journey more than I cared about her romantic journey. So it was cool, but it wasn't great. 3 stars. Then I read What Are the Odds by R.M. Virtues, and now this was a serve. I really like this one. This one I gave 4 stars. So What Are the Odds by R.M. Virtues is about this girl named Elena, and basically Elena has this older sister, and her older sister is kind of a bitch, and so basically her older sister had this husband named Caius, and she was cheating on him like their whole marriage, and so they've recently divorced. But Elena and Caius were always like cool, and they were kind of besties, and so Elena has not seen Caius since he divorced her older sister, but she still thinks about him all the time. He was her bestie, blah blah blah. One day she goes to a bar and she sees him at the bar. They reconnect, and they're like, oh my god, bestie, it's you. So they start hanging out and like talking, and then they connect on a few more levels than they previously imagined. And this is basically about this girl messing with her sister's ex-husband, and I was eating it up. I loved it. First of all, it was a little bit scandalous. It wasn't too scandalous because it's like they're divorced, you know, it's not like there's like any cheating involved or anything like that, but it's just scandalous because like there's still a whole bunch of drama between Caius and his ex-wife, and like it's still a mess. But I like this. This was messy, this was fun, and it was overwhelmingly sexy. Elena and Caius, they were so fucking hot together. It didn't even make sense. It defied logic and reason. They were the moment, the way, and the truth. I absolutely enjoyed them. I will be thinking about some of their scenes for a long time. But in addition to like the spiciness aspect, I just really did feel like Elena and Caius were like perfect together. And even though this is a relatively short book, I feel like it's only like 200 or something pages, I did really feel like Elena and Caius had this really deep and like genuine connection with one another, and I felt like they just worked together. They just fit so well, and there were so many cute little like down scenes and moments where they're just like spending time together that was just so cute, and they just worked, and it just made sense for them to be together, and I loved it. Like I was eating so good with this book. You don't understand. It was really great. And Caius is so hot, like book boyfriend material. He was everything. So then I read Blue Flag Volume 1. It's like a coming of age manga, sort of. It's about these high school students, and they're in their senior year, and basically this girl has a crush on this other guy's best friend. So she's like, can you help me like get your best friend's attention, because I want to date him, but like I'm shy and I'm nervous and I don't know like how to get his attention, essentially. And so it basically evolves into this like love triangle situation, because the girl is in love with the best friend, and the guy that she goes to for help with the best friend actually ends up in love with her, and the best friend is in love with his male best friend that's supposed to be helping the girl fall in love with him. I don't know anybody's name, so I'm sorry. I can't help you. It's in one ear and out the other. So I don't know what anybody's names are. But yeah, so there's 3 people. There's like this love triangle thing going on because everyone's in love with everyone else. And it's just, it was a little bit dramatic and messy, and it was cute, and I liked it. It was just very adorable, very sweet, wholesome kind of time, and I enjoyed it a lot, so I give it 4 stars. So next, I read For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing, and I absolutely love this. 4 stars. It was really good. So this is a thriller, I want to say, and it's about this teacher named Teddy Crutcher at this elite private school, and essentially Teddy is very dedicated to his role as a teacher. He recently won Teacher of the Year. He's very proud of that accomplishment, and basically he is like very invested, maybe too invested, in the personal development of his students and making them into the best people they can possibly be. And he is a very weird, unhinged sort of dude, and this book is about Teddy and his strangeness, and about this student who has beef with Teddy, and Teddy has beef with the student, and the student is kind of like digging into Teddy's personal life and trying to expose Teddy for the weirdo that he is. This is a really interesting story. I love the school setting of it. It gave me like, I don't want to say it was a dark academia, because I still don't really understand the full definition of dark academia and what falls under dark academia, but it is a school setting, and we get this story where there are a bunch of murders happening at the school, and everyone's trying to figure out, why are all these people getting murdered? Who's murdering them? What's happening? A lot of different POVs in the book, and so you get a lot of different perspectives on the school and like the politics and the relationships and the interplay between everybody in the school, from the faculty, from the students, and everything like that. And it's just so interesting, and I just feel like the drama and the tea was so good. And also I found Teddy's narration to be very funny almost. It was like very darkly comedic, and it kind of reminded me of Joe from You. So I feel like if you enjoy You, you might enjoy this, because I feel like Teddy is a very similar kind of character. And this was just a really fun book. I had a great time reading it, and this is definitely the kind of thriller that I think I'm interested in, more so than like, I want to say like mystery thrillers where there's like a detective or like a journalist or something trying to solve a crime. Like, I don't care about that. But I do like stories where there is a crime happening and there's like, you kind of want to solve it, you want to figure out what's going on, you want to get to the bottom of it. Like, I do like that, but I can't say that like a story that's wholly about an investigation works for me. So I really enjoyed this because we got to be in the head of this person who was very, like, to me, psychologically interesting and wild and off kilter, and like his mindset was just so bizarre that it made it interesting to read. You know, that's what I think that I enjoy. So I had fun reading this, and I gave it 4 stars. Okay, so then for one of my classes, for my American fiction class, I read Mrs. Lonely Hearts by Nathaniel West, and wow, I hated this so much. It was, ugh. Okay, so this is like a, I want to say this book is from like the 1920s or something like that. At least that's when it's set. And it's about this character who's only known as Mrs. Lonely Hearts, and he writes a Lonely Hearts like advice column. So people send him letters about the stuff and the things going on in their life, and he gives them advice. So this story is kind of about Mrs. Lonely Hearts and his like mental breakdown as a result of being constantly inundated with other people's trauma, and like how upsetting it is to work this job and to have to read about like so much human suffering, and it's like really affecting Miss Lonely Hearts' mental health. So I feel like that aspect of the story is really interesting, and I do think that Nathaniel West's writing style is like kind of cool in some regards, but mostly this is just a story of like violence and misogyny and like rape and attempted rape, and it was just weird as fuck, and I didn't like it. Also, there is this scene that I did tweet about, and it got a little bit of traction, so you should follow me over there on Twitter if you'd like to see me posting wild bookish screenshots, because I do that rather frequently. And in said screenshot, Miss Lonely Hearts, he's on a vacation with his girlfriend, and him and his girlfriend are on the porch, and for whatever reason, his girlfriend is butt naked on the porch, hanging her laundry. And he's talking about how she looks fat, but also she looks beautiful and naked, but also that her boobs look like thumbs. It's all very confusing. It's all very odd. It's all very weird. And I mean, maybe I'll show you the screenshot here, but it's just very odd. I feel like there were a lot of strange writing choices like that throughout the book, and I understand that maybe some of it is like supposed to be because the book is a satire and blah blah blah, but honestly, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I hate satire. I don't like reading it. I don't like studying it. I'm an English major. I hate studying satire. It's just like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't like it. All right, 3 more books left. So then I read Cemetery Boys by Ada and Thomas, and I absolutely love this, and I honestly am sad that it took me so long to give this book a shot because it was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So Cemetery Boys is about this character named Yadriel, and Yadriel is this young brujo, and basically he's trans, and so in his community, brujos, when they are 15 or 16, I think he's 15 because he says the quinces thing. So when they're 15, they have this ceremony. They have this ceremony that like makes them a full-fledged brujo, and they have like certain duties that they're supposed to fulfill as this like community of brujos, as a full-fledged brujo. But because Yadriel is trans, like his family doesn't fully accept his identity, and so they haven't given him his quince ceremony so that he can be a brujo in his own right. So he says, you know, fuck them, I'm gonna do it myself. And so he ends up doing this ceremony and like pledging himself to their death goddess so that he can get like his powers and start doing brujo things, which involves, you know, helping spirits and like guiding them to the afterlife and stuff like that. So Yadriel is like, listen, I don't need my family. If they don't accept me, I'm gonna figure it out myself because I'm gonna be a brujo, and this is, you know, this is it for me. So essentially he does this ceremony, and he ends up accidentally awakening the spirit of this other guy named Julien. And so this is a story about Yadriel trying to help Julien like settle all of his unfinished business and then help him like cross over to the other side. And this book was just very unexpectedly wholesome and cute and really funny. And Julien, his personality was very much like a golden retriever, and I feel like Yadriel was like a lot more serious and straightforward and like a type A personality. So it was really fun to see how the two of them clashed, and there's this really cute like romance that blooms that also really adorable. Absolutely loved it, and I just really enjoyed this. I had a fun time with it. It was really fun, fast-paced. I love the themes of it. It was great and was really sweet, and I enjoyed it a whole lot. And I think that if you like Julie and the Phantoms, you will enjoy this. So then I read Iron Widow by Ziren J. Zhao, and I think I want to give this book like 3 stars. So Iron Widow is about, this is like a sci-fi mecha versus kaiju kind of story. So essentially in this world where like these kaiju giant monsters are constantly attacking this civilization, and so they have invented these like robots that get piloted by a pilot and his concubine to fight the monsters. However, something about the pilot system makes it so that every time a pilot has his concubine fighting with him, like, she just dies. Women constantly die in these like fighting robot things, and so more and more women have to be attributed to the pilot program so that they can continue fighting these robots. And so this happens to the main character of the book, Zietian. Her sister gets attributed to the pilot program. She dies, and Zietian is obviously not cool with this, so she's like, fuck the pilot program, fuck the patriarchy, I'm gonna kill the pilot who killed my sister. And honestly, she was a bad bitch, an icon, and a legend for that. I really, really like that. And I think that was honestly my favorite part of the story. She's a character with a lot of rage, and I love seeing characters who are very like rage filled and kind of unhinged, and they have a goal and they're going to see it through. I love that. And so I really was interested in this like revenge storyline that we had going on. But that storyline gets finished so quickly, and like it gets resolved maybe in the first 20% of the book, and then the rest of the book is lots of other stuff and things going on. And she gets assigned to this different pilot, and there's some stuff going on with them, and then she has like childhood love of hers, and there's like a love triangle turned polyamory. Like, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the poly aspects of the story. I kind of liked the main character. I did like the exploration of like female rage and like raging against the patriarchy. So there was a lot of stuff in the story that I enjoyed. I feel like aesthetically I liked the whole like mecha kaiju thing that was going on. I liked the characters kind of. I liked the romance that blooms, but I didn't love the story. I didn't feel like I was very engaged in it. And after Zietian like achieved her initial goal of finishing that guy who killed her sister, I just felt like I didn't care about the plot anymore. And the way that the plot evolved, like, I didn't care. It just didn't do things for me. So I don't think I'll be reading the sequel to this book, but it was like cool. It was an experience that I had, so it was fine. I gave it like 3 stars. And then finally I read My Dark Vanessa. This was a buddy read with Monet from Life is Monet, and yeah, so My Dark Vanessa is about this character Vanessa who was in this relationship with one of her teachers when she was a child. She was like 15, and she was in this relationship. She thinks it's a relationship. She views it as like this relationship and this like epic forbidden love story that she had in her teen years. As the years go on, she finds that this guy, his name is Mr. Strain, he has been accused multiple times by a lot of different women of abusing students on campus. And so it's made her begin to reconsider her relationship with him and like, were they in love or was he just a predator? And obviously he's a predator. He's a fucking disgusting creep. He was so gross. This book is like very graphic. Yeah, it's really graphic, and you get to see like just play by play of this girl's adolescent relationship with this disgusting man, and it is really fucked up. And you get to see how that fucked up relationship really shapes Vanessa throughout her whole life, because when we meet Vanessa in the present, she's like in her 30s, I think, and so we see how this has really had lifelong consequences and how it has shaped her view of life and sex and relationships, and her view of her own body and the way that she finds herself attractive or not attractive. It even affects how she relates to and connects with other women and other young women, and it's just really uncomfortable and gross. But it is a very, I want to say, nuanced look at abuse of this kind and how it affects and can shape a person, and also how it's also a look at someone who's like not a perfect victim, you know, because Vanessa, she does and says a lot of things that are very questionable towards other victims. She kind of victim blames other people, and so she's not like this super easy person to root for, but you can still just see all of the ways that she was done so terribly wrong and all the ways that people in her life failed her miserably. And it's just a really sad, really heartbreaking kind of story, but I think that it was very well done, very well executed. The writing was gorgeous, and so as haunting and harrowing as it was a really great read, and so I would give this 5 stars. So yeah, that's all the books that I read in February. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and a special thank you to all of my wonderful patrons. Do be sure to check out my Patreon. I never really like promote it, but check out my Patreon because there is going to be a Patreon exclusive vlog going up. So like, if you want to see all my thoughts on Twisted Hate by Anna Huang, you should definitely check out my Patreon. It'll be right there in the description box below. I'll see you all in my next one, hopefully. Bye guys.